In the heart of a sprawling desert city where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and the sun burned gold, 19-year-old Linda stood in a wedding dress woven with threads of starlight. The gown shimmered, a cascade of silken pearls, but her hazel eyes held a quiet storm. She wasn't here for love, not in the way the world expected. She was marrying Sheikh Khalid bin Zayed, a man 56 years her senior, whose wealth could buy entire nations, and whose heart some whispered was as aid as the sands surrounding his palace. The world saw a scandal, a young woman chasing fortune, but the truth was a tapestry of secrets waiting to unravel. Linda grew up in a small Ohio town where cornfields stretched endless and dreams felt finite. Her mother, Grace, worked double shifts at a diner, her hands cracked from washing dishes, her smile fading with each passing year. Linda's father had vanished before she could walk, leaving behind a locket with a faded photo of a family that never was. At 16, Linda started waitressing to help pay the bills, her laughter brightening the diner's dim corners. She had a gift for kindness. Slipping extra coffee to the truckers, listening to the regular stories, and saving every penny for a future she couldn't yet see. College was a distant hope, but she devoured books from the library, dreaming of a world beyond the corn. When Linda was 18, a chance encounter changed everything. A sleek black car pulled into the diner's gravel lot and outstepped a man in robes that seemed to carry the desert's weight. Sheikh Khalid on a rare trip to the States for business wasn't there for the coffee. He was tired grieving the loss of his only daughter Amamira to illness years before. Linda didn't know who he was, only that his eyes held a sorrow she recognized. She poured his tea, listened to his halting English, and offered a smile that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. "You look like you've carried a lot," she said softly. "Want to tell me about it?" Khalid didn't share much that day, but he returned the next and the next. Linda's warmth disarmed him, her questions gentle but piercing. She reminded him of a mirror, not in looks, but in spirit. Over weeks, he spoke of his daughter, his regrets, his empire built on oil and ambition, but hollow without family. Linda listened, not for gain, but because she saw a man drowning in loneliness. When Khalid proposed marriage a year later, it wasn't a romantic gesture. It was a contract, a plea. "My wealth can change your life," he said. "And your heart can remind me what it means to live." Linda hesitated. She wasn't in love, and Khalid didn't expect her to be. He offered stability, her mother's medical bills paid, a chance to study, a life where she could help others. In return, she'd be his companion, a bridge to a world he'd lost. Grace begged her to say no. But Linda saw a chance to do good. Not just for her family, but for a man who needed her light. "I'm not selling myself, Mom," she said, clutching the locket. "I'm giving someone a reason to hope." The wedding was a spectacle held in Khalid's palace under chandeliers that rivaled the stars. Guests, diplomats, tycoons, and curious onlookers whispered about the age gap, the rumors of gold digging, the oddity of a small-town girl in a sheik's world. Linda stood tall, her smile steady, but her heart raced. She wasn't here for the wealth, though the world didn't believe her. Khalid, frail but regal, held her hand, his gratitude silent but profound. The ceremony was a blur of Arabic chants and flashing cameras. But it was the wedding night that would become legend. As the palace quieted, Linda expected a night of awkward formality, perhaps a conversation about their unusual arrangement. Instead, Khalid led her to a private chamber, not for intimacy, but for a revelation. The room was filled with photographs, letters, and a small worn diary. "Amira's. This is why I chose you," Khalid said, his voice trembling. He opened the diary, revealing his daughter's final wish: to create a foundation for children in war-torn regions, a dream Khalid had never fulfilled, paralyzed by grief. "You have her kindness," he said. "Will you help me honor her?" Linda's breath caught. This wasn't about romance or wealth. It was about legacy. She spent the night reading Amira's words, tears staining the pages. By dawn, she knew her purpose. She wasn't just Khalid's wife. She was his partner in a mission that could touch thousands of lives. The world expected scandal, but the wedding night birthed a quiet vow to build something bigger than themselves. The months that followed were a whirlwind. Linda threw herself into learning, studying international aid by day and navigating palace politics by night. Khalid, reinvigorated, poured his resources into the Amira Foundation with Linda as its heart. She traveled to refugee camps, her Ohio accent softening the edges of her determination as she handed out supplies and listened to stories of loss. Back home, the tabloids spun tales of her Sheikh's bride life, but Linda ignored them. She wrote letters to Grace, promising to return and sent money to rebuild the diner. Her kindness, once confined to a small town, now rippled across continents. But challenges loomed. Khalid's health faltered, his heart weakened by years of grief and age. His advisors, skeptical of Linda's motives, plotted to undermine her, whispering that a teenager couldn't lead a global initiative. At a gala in Dubai, a rival businessman, Omar, confronted her, his smile sharp. "You're a child playing queen," he sneered. "This foundation will fail, and you'll drag Khalid's name with it." Linda's hands shook, but she met his gaze. "I'm not here for his name. I'm here for his daughter's dream." The turning point came in a Syrian refugee camp where Linda met Noor, a 10-year-old girl with eyes like Amir's in the photographs. Noor's family had fled war. Her brother lost to a bombing. Linda sat with her, sharing stories of Ohio's fields, promising to build a school where Noor could learn. The girl's smile, fragile but real, became Linda's anchor. When Khalid suffered a heart attack weeks later, Linda rushed to his side, her heart torn between the foundation and the man who trusted her. In his hospital room, he gripped her hand. "You've given me more than I asked for," he whispered. "Don't stop." Khalid's recovery was slow, and Linda faced a choice. Return to Ohio, where Grace needed her, or stay and fight for the foundation. The emotional climax came at a global summit where Linda, barely 20, stood before world leaders to pitch the Amira Foundation. Her voice shook, but her words carried Amir's diary, Noor's hope and Khalid's faith. "Kindness doesn't need wealth or age," she said. "It needs a heart willing to try." The room erupted in applause, pledges pouring in, but Linda's thoughts were with Noor, with Grace, with the diner's cracked booths. She'd found her strength, not in a palace, but in the lives she touched. Years later, the Amira Foundation thrived with schools and clinics dotting the Middle East. Linda, now 25, split her time between Ohio and the desert. Her mother's diner, now a community hub. Khalid, frail but alive, watched her with pride. Their bond not of love, but of shared purpose. The world no longer whispered of scandal. They spoke of the girl who married a sheikh and shocked them all, not with secrets but with selflessness. Linda kept Amira's diary close, a reminder that kindness, like a single spark, could light up the darkest corners of the world. And in Ohio, under a starry sky, she'd smile, knowing she'd built a bridge between two worlds, one heart at a time.